All right. Hi, hello, and welcome to this session of ExecuNet Master Class. I'm your host, as always, Tony Vlahos, and my guest this hour is nationally recognized franchise consultant and international best-selling author, Mr. Pete Gilfillan. So look, there are many reasons to consider engaging in a side business, right? I mean, financial incentives are a common motivator. A lot of you are also driven by something else, which I'll term a desire for fulfillment, doing more meaningful work, taking more control of your career destiny. And for others, it's got a lot to do with a better work-life balance, right? Especially as some of us approach retirement. Whatever your reasons for being here today, A, I thank you. And B, today Pete will tell you what it takes to get your side business up and running and succeed at it. All that's coming right up. Well, I am always delighted to introduce today's guest. Pete Gilfillan is, as I said, the international best-selling author of a book called Hire Yourself. He's got a proven track record of changing people's lives. In fact, over the years, he has helped thousands of executives like you explore franchise ownership and successfully reset their careers and to a degree their lives. With that brief intro, welcome back, Pete, to the ExecuNet stage. They are all yours.
Thanks, Tony. It is a pleasure to be here. Again, my name is Pete Gilfillan. I am an entrepreneur. I am a nationally recognized franchise consultant with FranChoice. I am an international best-selling author, but you know what? I'm a proud corporate escapee. And I'm excited today because we're gonna talk about the great career alternative for corporate executives, semi-absentee franchise ownership. So I'm gonna teach you how to leverage semi-absentee franchise ownership to take control of your destiny, to build wealth, to encourage you to leverage the executive model to work on the business, not in the business. Now, that can be full-time, that can be semi-absentee, what we call part-time. I'm going to teach you about how to create a secondary income or even replace a corporate level income over time. I'm going to teach you about franchising, and I'm going to answer a lot of your questions about franchising. Now, you've probably seen a lot of the headlines I've seen. There are layoffs, massive layoffs going on, and I don't think they're going to end anytime soon. You know, you take a look at Tesla and Work or Salesforce. I mean, there's a lot of layoffs happening, and it is now time to create income and career security. There's never been a better time to do that because we're going to see a lot of uncertainty as we talk about this stuff. And bottom line is, some of these jobs that are going away aren't coming back. We have the technology in regards to AI that will eliminate positions. You have companies rethinking kind of this idea of the value of the white collar worker. You have Wall Street Journal writing an article a couple months ago about the disappearing white collar job. And bottom line is whether you like it or not, companies, as they let people go, are targeting the higher paid older executives from a standpoint. So bottom line is, now is the time to create career and income security. So are you a corporate executive looking to take control of your destiny, to create career and income security, to keep a corporate position and income while investing in a side business? Maybe you just want to build a supplemental income, diversify your assets, your income. Maybe you want to set up a plan to escape the great corporate rat race, or maybe you want to live life in your own terms or just enjoy yourself. If you can answer yes to any of those questions, then this webinar is well worth your time. Now, my story, I suspect, is much like yours. I was told, go to college, get a college degree, and then go start with a company and have a career with a large company. And that's exactly what I did. I graduated and I started my first job at Ford Motor Company. And I was fortunate. I got in the executive fast track. It was a fabulous company. I ended up running like a $5 billion sales and marketing organization. But back in late 2006, I got a call from my boss. I was the Midwest market manager, so I ran 10 states for Ford, Lincoln Mercury. And I get called out of this meeting. My boss basically says to me on the phone, we'd like to offer you a separation package. And I was blown away. I had given my life 17 years. Blood is blue. I was raised in a Ford family. I gave it. We moved all over the country, long hours, great company, but they were asking me to leave. And I couldn't believe it. So I went home and I talked to my wife and I said, what do we do here, right? I love Ford. It's been part of my life. you know, and what do? And we decided to take the adventure. We took the package. And I took some time off to reconnect with my family, and I found myself at the kitchen table with my wife. We had two opportunities. We had an opportunity to buy a small business from that standpoint, local business. I always want to be an entrepreneur. And I had a job offer from a company called Terex, another great company. They wanted me to come in and run the Americas for their construction group. And my wife decided that she thought there was more security with that corporate job. So I took the corporate job over becoming an entrepreneur. And I started out, I ran the Americas for Terex, and I ran to global sales and production planning for the construction group. But I was gone all the time. And it was a life that I just didn't want to live anymore. So one day I decided to walk away from the corporate world and start doing my own thing. And that's where I began my journey of becoming an entrepreneur. And the first thing I did is I bought the rights to a franchise concept called Junk King. Junk King plays in the junk removal space. And I bought the rights to 3 states to be a master franchisee, to help find Junk King franchisees for these three states and help them get started. And I really liked helping people go into business. About the same time that I invested in Junk King, I also got invited to join a group called FranChoice, and they're an elite consultant group out there that helps executives all over the country look at all different types of franchise concepts. And that's really where I found my niche. I love the passion of helping other people take back control of their life and to build wealth. So that started my mission. And my mission is very simple. I want to help executives take control of their destiny, to build wealth, and to live life on their own terms. In fact, I wrote the book, Hire Yourself. It was a bestseller from that standpoint. So my promise to you is this. I'm going to encourage you to build income security and wealth through a side business while keeping your corporate income. I'm going to teach you about the executive semi-absentee franchise model, a part-time franchise ownership. I'm going to answer a lot of your common questions about franchising, and then offer you some great resources at the end of the webinar. So what are we going to cover today? So what we're going to cover is we're going to talk about why more corporate executives are taking the path of franchise ownership. What is franchising? What is the best franchise model for 2024? Why semi-absentee franchise ownership? What's the minimum investment to get into a franchise? How much capital do I need? What are good sources of capital? How can I replace, or can I replace, my corporate level income? How do I find the right franchise? And we'll even talk about some success stories. So, are you a 50-plus-year-old corporate executive? And why are more corporate executives taking the path of franchise ownership? So the future of corporate jobs, I think, looks tough. There's going to be more layoffs. There's going to be more downsizing. And bottom line is, whether we like it or not, being underemployed consulting or contract work is kind of the new reality. And let's face it, now executives are on jobs for less than 4 years. And that's a big change from when we all kind of started, and then kind of that we thought we were going to have a 30-year career with the company. It's changed, and there is more age and unemployment discrimination. And if you don't know what unemployment discrimination is, it basically says, listen, if you've been out of work for more than 6 months, companies might take somebody that doesn't have as much experience, but they're employed, over somebody that has more experience that is currently unemployed. And whether we like it or not, AI is going to have a significant impact on positions or jobs from that standpoint. And if you're a 50-plus-year-old corporate executive, this figure should scare you. It is this: 50% of 50-plus-year-old corporate executives are pushed out of their job or pushed into retirement before they're ready. Let me repeat that. 50+% of 50-year-old corporate level executives, 50-plus-year-old corporate executives, are pushed into retirement before they're ready. Here's another scary stat. Of the ones that get pushed out and they get another job, only 10% of them earn as much or make more than they did prior. So bottom line is, there's a lot of uncertainty. So one of the things that I always ask when I'm working with executives is, why would you consider investing in franchise, or why take the path of franchise ownership? And this is what they say to me. You know, Pete, I just want to take control of my destiny, or have freedom. I want to create an income. I want to build an asset that I could sell, or it could be a legacy for my family. I want to be my own boss, where I can make the decision, set the direction of the business. I want to make a difference, or make an impact in my community. I want to be engaged. I want to have purpose, Pete. I want to be rewarded for my hard work. If I'm going to work hard, I don't want some big corporation getting all the financial reward. I want to be the one getting the reward. You know, Pete, I want to build, lead, and mentor a team. I want to be happy, satisfied, proud of what I'm doing. I want to create a family business where I can include my spouse, my significant other, or even my kids in the business. And I want to leverage my personal capital to build something for myself where I can put myself in a position where I can beat ageism, not let anybody clock me out of my career or my income before I'm ready. Or simply put, Pete, I just want to create career and income security. So let's start with the basics. What is franchising? Everybody knows there's franchises out there, but what is franchising and what's trending in franchise businesses? So a franchise is basically a business partnership. You have the franchisor. The franchisor is already developed the business model. They developed the systems, the process, the procedures, the brand, all that kind of stuff. So they built this business model and they're looking for business partners, franchisees. So the way franchising works is the franchisee buys the rights to use the business model for a period of time, call it 10 years. And you basically pay $50, $60, $70,000 for the franchise rights to use that business model for the period of time. And that franchisor gives you the playbook and they're there by your side. And then they are providing support for the going term of the franchise agreement, or simply put, helping you be successful. And for that support, you are paying a royalty. A royalty is simply put, in most cases, a percentage of the revenue. So it could be 7%, 5%, 6%, 8% of your top line revenue goes back to the franchisor for providing you the support. Now, franchising in today's world is booming. Now, when I talk about franchising, most people think of Subway, Dunkin' Donuts, and McDonald's. And franchising is so much more than that. There are over 4,000 different franchise concepts that are out there today, with over 750,000 franchise establishments, employing over 8 million people, right? This is in almost every industry, over 300 plus industries franchises play, and it has a huge impact on the United States economy. In fact, franchising basically provides or contributes to the GDP a little under $500 billion. Franchising is booming. Now, when we talk about franchising, there are two basic business models. There are service-based franchises. So think of a franchise that goes to people's homes or businesses and provides a product or service. So it could be something that goes to people's homes and do home improvement, like painting, flooring, garages, closets, window treatments. It could be handyman services. So kind of going to people's homes. It could also be a service that goes and helps businesses, whether it's window cleaning, working on their HVAC, doing their landscaping, business coaching. The idea is businesses. And then there are service-based businesses that maybe provide services like in-home care for my mom if she needs a little extra help, or finding a good place for my mom to live, or even helping her sell off her items in her house as she moves to a new place. So the idea is there are service-based businesses, and then there are facility-based franchise concepts. So think of that strip mall down the street where somebody takes 2,000 square feet and they create a place where you can get a haircut, get a sub sandwich. So, right? So the idea is facility-based concepts. It could be around health and wellness, so fitness, massage, medi-spas, weight loss. It could be around beauty, hair care, nails, facials, lash extensions, hair removal, and certainly kids. I take my kid to a tutoring center. I go preschool, think about martial arts classes, sports training. The idea is there's facility-based franchise concepts. So what is the best franchise model for 2024? Well, there's a growing movement. You see, franchise ownership, they're really, the movement is that people want to work on the business, not in the business. They don't want to be the artisan. They want to be watching over the business. So they want to set the overall direction, make the key decisions while managing a manager from that standpoint. So when we talk about investing in a franchise, there is different levels of engagement. You know, some people, they invest in a franchise where they very much want to be the artisan. They want to work in the business. They want to be the guy or gal doing whatever the business does, right? So if it's a lawn fertilizing business, they want to be the one fertilizing the lawn. They get a little truck and they go fertilize. So if it's a facility-based concept, they want to be the one behind the counter making sub sandwiches 7 days a week. And if it grows, great, but they're really trying to create a job for themselves. That is the artisan. Most of the executives I work with are not interested in the artisan model. In fact, they're interested in the executive model. And when we talk about the executive model, this is about working on the business, not in the business. So again, we're not spraying lawns, we're not making sub sandwiches, we're managing the manager, watching over the business, right? And when we talk about the executive model, you can either work on it full time. So although you're not spraying lawns, although you're not making sub sandwiches, you're involved in the business 40, 50 hours a week, manager, planning the market. Now, what we're talking about today is the other side of the spectrum, what we call the executive model semi-absentee. The idea behind it is that we get going, we put a manager in place, watch over that manager 15 to 20 hours a week. That allows us to keep our corporate job, keep our corporate income, or do other things. But we have this business, side business, where we're watching over it. Now, whether you're involved in it full-time or semi-absentee, most executives want to scale or grow the business, open up multiple locations, multiple territories, because they want to build something of significance. And when we talk about the executive model semi-absentee, here would be a couple examples. In a facility-based franchise concept, you've probably seen Club Pilates. It's a Pilates franchise, and it's one that very much is a semi-absentee business model. So most Club Pilates franchisees aren't there teaching yoga classes. They're watching over their manager, planning the marketing from that standpoint. On the service side, RestaPro might be an example, a restoration business. They provide restoration services. And again, they'll allow you to have a manager. You watch over that manager 15 to 20 hours a week. You don't have to be involved in it every day, but the idea is that we have to watch over it. And again, some people may take them more time to watch over the business, may take them 30 hours, and somebody it may take them 6 hours. It really kind of depends on your leadership skills and your time management. So why semi-absentee franchise ownership? Well, you get to keep your corporate position while starting a franchise on the side. This is nice because you can leverage the semi-absentee business model to kind of create that side business, to keep your corporate position and income while you're starting the side franchise business. And after the business is established, you can kind of watch over that manager 15 or 20 hours a week. So why executives leverage semi-absentee business model to start a side business on the side? Well, first, we can leverage our corporate income while starting the business on the side, right? So it's just an easier path. We can diversify our assets and income, and it's a pretty good time to be doing that. We can create a supplemental income to build wealth and to protect ourselves from future layoffs, or call it a security blanket. And we can set up a great transformation plan to escape the corporate rat race or the corporate job, or simply put, live life on your terms. And if you remember anything from today's webinar, remember that jobs are no longer income security. You're just renting your income. At any point, somebody can walk in and say, sorry, we're going a different direction. We're laying people off. You're furloughed, whatever it may be. Here's a separation package. When you own a business, nobody can do that to you. It's your business. You will not be given a separation package. You're not going to be furloughed. Bottom line is you're in complete control. You have income and career security. So remember, jobs are no longer income security. So when we're thinking about investing in a franchise, what are the minimum investment levels to even invest in a franchise? So there's a significant range when we talk about the total investment when it comes to franchises. So we'll start with first the service-based franchises. Again, franchises that go to people's homes or businesses. We talk about service-based franchises. The total investment will be something greater than $100,000. In most cases, it could be $135,000, it could be $185,000. Now, when we talk about a facility-based franchise concept, the investment numbers jump up because we have to build out that space in the strip mall. So then the total investment for a facility-based franchise concept will be something greater than $200,000. So it could be $250,000, it could be $450,000. It really depends on the size of the facility, the build out, the equipment, furnishings, and certainly working capital from that standpoint. So what are the capital requirements for franchises, and what are good sources of capital? So when we talk about capital requirements, there are two primary numbers we need to know, or two criteria that franchisors look at to make sure that you're qualified to invest in the franchise. The first capital requirement is liquid capital. All franchises require you to have so much liquid capital. Now, liquid capital in the eyes of franchising is very loosely defined. It could be cash, stocks, bonds. It could be equity that you have in your home. You tap through a home equity line. It could be retirement dollars. Instead of investing stocks and bonds, it's investing in your business from a standpoint in a tax compliant way. It's anything but like an SBA loan. So liquid capital is the first number we need to know. And you generally need about $75,000 to $100,000 liquid capital as a starting point. The second number you need to know is overall net worth. That's the second requirement, because they need to know that you have so much net worth in case you have to lease a facility, in case you need to lease equipment. So again, net worth is assets minus liability. So you have to have at least $100,000 of net worth. Now, fortunately, we're in a world where there is a lot of ways in which we can fund our business, or simply put, there are a lot of funding resources. So I like to call this the funding wheel. So one funding source is you can use an SBA loan, Small Business Administration Loan. No, the SBA is not loaning you the money. The SBA is guaranteeing the loan for the financial institution. And generally speaking, SBA loans, it takes a process, a lot of filling out of documents and stuff like that. So it takes some time, but the idea is it's a loan that's on a variable rate, prime plus a couple points, for example, and it is one where you're going to have fees, origination fees, closing fees. But the idea is that it's a good resource for people in terms of funding their business. Another one might be traditional loans. We don't see too much of that. A lot of times you have to have experience in the industry or buying a business that is playing in a specific industry. So you don't see as much. Some franchisors provide funding or in-house funding for their franchisees. From the standpoint, you don't see as much of this because we don't really need it. It's not really because there's so much other capital out there. It's not used a lot, but some have it. A lot of people use equity in a home, and it tends to be their biggest asset. They got frozen capital in there. They want to leverage that capital to invest in a business, so they use a home equity line. Some people use friends and family money. Some use outside investors. A lot of people are using their retirement dollars in a tax compliant way. It's called the ROPS program. You can actually set it up so that your retirement account, instead of investing stocks and bonds, actually owns your business. It's very, very cool what you can be done. And some people have brokerage accounts where they can take a line against it. So there is many different funding resources. And the cool thing is that you can use combinations of these funding sources to set up your business. Let's use an example. Let's say you're going to open up 3 franchise locations over a couple years. And the first location, you decide to capitalize it or fund it with $90,000 worth of cash, $210,000 SBA loan for a total of $300,000. Now it's time to open up your second location. You decide, listen, I'm going to fund this one. I'm going to take $90,000 from my home equity line, and I'm going to do about $210,000 for my ROPS using some of my retirement dollars. For, again, a total of $300,000. And number 3, maybe you say, listen, I'm going to take a little bit more from my retirement, $90,000, and I'm going to go do a conventional loan for $210,000 for a total of $300,000. There's just many different combinations of ways in which you could fund your business. Now, the number one question everybody asks me is, Pete, can I replace my corporate level income through a franchise? And the answer is very simple. The financial performance of a franchise business depends 100% on you. I can tell you for sure that it takes time and capital, time and scale to replace a corporate level income. Time and scale to replace a corporate level income. And only you can determine how much time and scale it's going to take to get to where you want to go financially from the standpoint. So that's really on you. But again, it's going to take time and scale, and only you, as you do your due diligence, can determine how much time and scale. But let's have some fun here. Let's say you attend today's webinar and you say, Pete, I understand this, but this is not for me. I'm just going to keep my corporate gig. That is the left-hand called corporate executive salary. And let's say you're making $200,000 and you're fortunate each year to get a little merit raise. And by year 5, you got a salary of $240,000. Unfortunately, you're renting that income. At any time, they could walk in and say, I'm sorry, we're done with you. We're going a different direction. We need to furlough so many people, whatever it may be. You're just renting that income. You have no asset per se. Now, what if you sat through here today and you said, listen, I'm just done with the corporate world and I'm just going to go invest and open up 3 franchise locations? That would be the big box. So let's say the first year you open up your first location, but you don't take any salary. And year 2, you take about a $50,000 salary from the first and you just get the second one going. Year 3, you take $75,000 from salary from the first, 50 from the second, and you just get the third one going. Now, year 4 gets interesting. Take a salary of $100,000 from the first, 75 from the second, 50 from the third. Now you're pretty much on top of what your corporate income would be. And then year 5, it explodes, where you have $125,000 salary from the first, 100 from the second, 75 from the second. Now you have a income of $300,000 plus You've built an asset that you could sell. So that's great. Now, what if you did the executive model semi-absentee? What we're talking about today, that is represented in the red box. If you had done, and you sat through and said, Pete, I really like the semi-absentee. I'm going to keep my corporate job. So after 5 years, you'd have a salary of $240,000. You've set up a secondary income of $300,000, plus you built an asset you could sell. That's the power of semi-absentee franchise ownership. Now, how do you find the right franchise business? Well, finding the franchise that fits you, first, you need to know what characteristics are important to you. What would be important to you if you were to invest in a franchise? You also need to know, hey, what do I want to accomplish with that business? And certainly you want to leverage a proven investigation process to do your due diligence or your validation of the franchise businesses. And when we look at or explore investigating or investing in a franchise, we want to keep an open mind. And what I always tell people is that what we know to be true about a business and what is actually true can be totally different. So we always keep an open mind. And as we look at business opportunities, we want to have fun. You see, when you go to evaluate franchises, you have not committed to invest in franchises. All you're doing is having conversations with great people, learn about some cool businesses. So we always want to have fun as we learn about the business opportunities. And remember, don't ever turn your hobby into a business. The definition in a dictionary of hobby, and most people don't talk about dictionaries anymore, but if you look it up, basically says a hobby is something you do outside of work. And if you take your hobby and you make it your business, you can ruin your hobby. And a great example of that in the book E-Myth Revisited, talked about this wonderful lady that she loved baking. So she decided, this is my hobby, I'm going to open up a bakery. And it was a nightmare. So we never want to take our hobby and turn it into a business. We could ruin that hobby. So when we go to look for a franchise, I think there is good, better, and a best way to find a franchise. So a good way is you can go to some of these sites and there you click on some boxes of some franchises, you want to get some information, and they're going to send you that information. And bottom line is that you're going to get some great information, but the problem is that you may have your information sold. Franchisors may buy your contact information. Franchise consultants like myself might buy your information. So you may end up wanting to shut off your phone, get rid of your email. You may be inundated with people reaching out to you about franchise opportunities. A better way is if you see a business you like, go to their website and see if they offer franchise opportunities and contact them directly. So this is a very direct way to do it, but unfortunately, you're going directly into their sales funnel. You don't have anybody helping you through the process of evaluating the franchises. So the best way is to leverage a franchise consultant. In most cases, this is a free service. They get to know you and then they help match you with franchises that align with your interests. That's what I do. So I'll give you an example of how I help executives explore franchises. So first, I have them fill out a simple questionnaire. It's kind of a basis so I can start getting an understanding of them, kind of call it the foundation. For the second step, where we do what is called the consultation call, where we just get on the phone and we just talk for 75 minutes, where I ask them questions, I'll listen, I'll take notes. At the end of the conversation, I'll summarize back to them. They'll leave the call knowing I heard and understand, and I'll actually then take and create a written summary of what they're interested in. Again, those characteristics from the standpoint, their engagement levels, all that stuff. And then I go look for franchises that align with their interest. And I do leverage a company called FranChoice. They've been screening franchises for over 20 years. And I'll go find franchises aligned and connect them to those franchises. And then basically it's their job to then start doing the due diligence, to do the validation of the businesses. Now I'm there by their side. I'm giving them coaching calls. I'm giving them resources. I'm there when it really gets tough and they got to make a decision to invest their hard-earned dollars. So I'm there to help them work through the fear. But that's what it's all about, is having somebody kind of help you through the process. And when we talk about evaluating franchises, the franchise investigation procedures is a steps that you go through to evaluate franchises. But before you start your due diligence, you really have to determine what characteristics you're looking for in a business, what level of engagement do you want, and then you go find franchises. In most cases, the franchise consultant helps you find franchises that meet that. And then you start the franchise investigation procedures. And there are 4 core steps that you go through to evaluate a franchise. The first step is what we call an introduction call. So they're going to give you a great overview of the franchise concept. You get to ask questions and you start developing a relationship. The second step is what we call the franchise disclosure document. All franchises must have a franchise disclosure document. It's designed to ensure that you're an informed investor. Everything you need to know is in this document. They're going to give you this document and have a call to review and answer any questions. The third step is what we call validation. It is the most important part. This is your opportunity to talk to actual franchise owners without the franchisor present. And once you build rapport, you can ask them any question and they are allowed to answer. The fourth step is what we call a confirmation day, discovery day, meet the team day. It's all the same thing. It's about the relationship. You're feeling good about them. They're feeling good about you. They invite you out to the corporate headquarters. We get to meet the leadership team, meet the support staff, and see the operations. Now, there's all other types of little steps in between. They may do a unit economics call. They may do a customer acquisition model, how they help you acquire customers. They may do a territory mapping call. They may have a leadership call. These are little steps by comparison to the 4 steps that you go through to evaluate a franchise business opportunity. Now, some things to consider when you're investigating franchises. Number 1, we want to understand the experience of the leadership team. You see, it's one thing to run a business, it's just a single business. It's another to run a franchise organization that has 100 franchisees. We also want to understand, when I become a franchisee, how do you help train and support me with my launch? Also, number 3 is that we want to understand the franchisee satisfaction. Are they happy? Are they making money? We want to understand the image and the reputation of the franchise system from that standpoint. And we want to know, what's the size of the franchise system? Do they have 5 franchisees or 400 franchisees? And is this an upcoming concept or an established concept? Meaning, has it been around for 2 months or has it been around for 20 years? What's the culture, the feel of the organization? Do you feel like you're joining a family business, or do you feel like you're joining a Fortune 1000 business? And what's the marketing model? How do they help acquire customers? And what's the ongoing support? So when I'm a franchisee, do I have a coach? Does that coach meet with me on a regular basis? What is that support that I get on an ongoing basis as a franchisee? And if it's a facility-based franchise concept, how do they help me find the facility or the location? And how do they help me build out the facility? And what's the overall financial strength of the franchise system you're considering investing in, or the parent company? So people always ask me, is it still a good time to invest in a franchise? And I say, yes, it's still a good time to invest in a franchise, because number 1, there's a lot of liquidity in the marketplace. So there's a lot of capital available. We're very blessed to have that today. And whether we like it or not, the equity market there's a lot of volatility, and it maybe is time to diversify. Everything we read is that we're one big event from having the market drop from a standpoint. So get a little money off the table, diversify your assets and your income. And interest rates, we know they're signaling that there's going to be decline in September from the standpoint. So interest rates will be declining, and future corporate downsizing, it's going to continue on. And again, all the technology out there, protect yourself, protect your career, protect your income. And franchising is booming again. There are so many great opportunities out there, and we are in a gig economy. It has never been easier to start a business from that standpoint. Bottom line is, it's pretty awesome time. You just got to take advantage of it. Now, why do people go through this whole process of evaluating franchises? And bottom line is that they don't invest in a franchise. Well, some people go through the process of evaluating franchises and they just decide, you know what, franchise ownership isn't for me. And that's fine. Franchising is not for everybody. And some people, they're not willing to put in the hard work to find the right franchise partner. It takes time to find a good partner. So we put the work in to find that one, but they're not willing to do that. Some people have fear and anxiety, and it stops them from following their dreams. They just get caught up into the fear, they paralysis, they get locked up, and they can't do anything from the standpoint. And some people just don't have the capital necessary to invest in a franchise. And sometimes people still believe that a job is income security. Hopefully we broke that paradigm today. Jobs are no longer income security. You're not in control of your career or your income. Somebody can make a decision and you are gone. Some people have a maverick mentality. It's my way or the highway. A franchise is a system you follow. That would not be for them, a maverick mentality person. And sometimes people's friends and family kill the dream. I had one candidate I worked with, his family had a vote to decide if they would allow him to invest in a business. They voted down the idea. And some people aren't capable of making a decision. They get all the way to the end, they can't make a decision. And if you can't make a decision, that is a decision. That is a no decision from a standpoint. So we always want to make sure that we're evaluating franchises and understand that it may not be for us, but we put the work in from that standpoint. Now, Tony and I, over the years, have had the opportunity to put on multiple webinars, just like today. And we get executives like yourself that come on and they go, holy cow, this is very interesting. I want to learn a whole bunch more. And they reach out to me and they go through the process and they ultimately invest in a franchise. We then have brought them back to share their stories. And here are recordings of 4 ExecuNet members that came on after they had been through the journey, invested in a franchise, and they share their story, whether it's Jim Griffin, senior level executive, was done with the corporate world, decided that he wanted to go open up multiple boutique fitness franchise concepts in multiple different states, and he shares his story. Bill Walsh, senior level executive, was done with it. He wanted to go do the executive model full time, and he invested in a window washing franchise, and he shared his stories, right? John Weiss, a successful entrepreneur, successful corporate executive, wanted to get back into being an entrepreneur, didn't want to go through all the hard work of, for lack of better terms, coming up with a big idea. So we leveraged a franchise model, call it Entrepreneur Light, an easier path, doesn't have to come up with a big idea, just needs to click into the system, follow the system, and build something. So he decided to open up multiple salon suite franchise concepts. And then Mike Furnish, corporate executive, want to keep his corporate job, start the franchise inside, and he shares his story of just doing that, keeping his corporate job and starting the franchises. So we've covered a lot today. And if you've got more questions, you're just like, Pete, I don't know. I don't know if I'm interested in French. I just want to learn a little bit more. Well, I'd encourage you to request a free consultation call. Just you can schedule a little time with me. We can talk a little bit about what's got you interested in exploring franchises. I can tell you a little bit more about how I can help you explore franchises. I will give you some great resources. I'll give you a free copy of my paperback book. So if you give me your address, I'll mail one to you, or you can have a digital copy of where it works. I'll give you a copy of my franchise business investment guide. So it's a nice guide for you. I call it a mini book. There's some other awesome information. And so I have all those great resources for you if you're interested in learning more. So, in summary, if you're a corporate executive looking to take control of your destiny, to create career and income security, to build a supplemental income, to replace a primary income, maybe you just want to diversify your assets or income. Maybe you just want to set a plan in place where you can escape the corporate rat race, or maybe you want to live life in your own terms or just enjoy yourself, then I strongly encourage you to take the time to start learning about this path of owning a franchise business. And with that, Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, Pete, thank you. So we always get this question, and I'm going to ask it of you again. Okay, this all sounds great. And we know it's a free call to speak with Pete and understand more about this low-risk investment opportunity, which is also a highly predictable investment opportunity because it's like, in the box. How does Pete get paid? What's his engagement model? Who pays him? I mean, all those questions typically come up. Let's get ahead of
Sure.
those.
Yeah.
Answer.
Yeah, excellent. Great question. And we always get the question. And the answer is that when I work with candidates, executives, they never pay me, they never sign anything. So who pays me? Well, franchisors, actually, if I help somebody become a franchisee, so they go through the process and they invest in a franchise, I get a referral fee from the franchisors. Think of like an executive recruiter. And the second way I get compensated, and it's not really money, but it's more respect, is that when I work with somebody and I do a great job and they invest in a franchise, that they refer me to others and say, you got to talk to Pete. He is the crazy franchise guy.
Super. So I think part of the concern that people have, people I'm referring to, people that have spent their lives in corporate America, are looking at this and saying, am I the type? I've heard what you've said, but in summary, what kind of person does this? Is it younger people? Is it people with sales and marketing experience, for example? Is it people who've got prior experience running their own business, or is all that not necessary?
So the answer is that really what we're looking to do is take the education that we got working in the corporate world, all the training, all the acumen that we gained, all the leadership skills that we gained working for these companies. And with franchising, the nice thing is you bring your business acumen, your leadership skills, and you plug into or invest in a franchise where they've got all the systems, the process, and procedures. So you don't need to be an expert in sales from that standpoint. In most cases, you're going to probably have a salesperson. You got to be comfortable talking about your business. You don't need to be a master in marketing because they have the marketing model. You just have to kind of follow the playbook. So the answer is that you bring your business acumen, your leadership skills, and you find a good franchise system that you can plug in and follow the system. So most people that invest in a franchise have never played in that industry. So I get engineers that, hey, I want an engineering franchise. There are no engineering franchises, but we take that experience that you gain working in a corporation as an engineer, senior level executive, and your leadership skills, and we plug you into a franchise that you can leverage that experience.
Mhm. Okay. Let's see, what else can we get from our audience here? Okay. So people love to hear that, okay, I'll do this and my profitability is guaranteed. There's no guarantee of that, but I'll ask the question this way. What is a good way to hedge your bets? In other words, if you want to succeed at this, what must you do? What must you avoid doing in order to succeed?
Well, first, when we want to know what it's going to do financially, right? Is this worth the go, right? The first thing I would tell you is that a big part of the process of evaluating franchises is what we call validation. And validation is your opportunity to talk to actual franchise owners within the franchise system or business that you're considering without the franchisor present. And once you build rapport, you can ask them all kinds of financial questions like, what can I expect in terms of revenue? What's the net profit margin? How much do you pay yourself? What's the ROI on your invested capital? So you can get the answers to those financial questions so that you know that this business can make money. Now, when we talk about a franchise business model, I always say we can have the same business model. One person's wildly successful with it and one person is not. And it really kind of comes down to the things that we can control. Number one is that when we have a business, it's a lot of hard work. And sometimes people think that when you own a business, you don't have to a franchise, you don't have to work very hard because you got all the systems, the process, procedures. But there's nothing further from the truth. It's work to get a business going. Number two is that we can have the best franchise system in the world, but if we don't follow the system as the franchisee, that's bad. And we've had stories where people, they're really smart and they think they're smarter than the franchise system. So we always follow the franchise system, and we can always make it better, but we follow the system because that's the strength. That's what you bought into. Third is that sometimes we're in this world now where it's somebody else's fault. We have a problem, it's somebody else's fault. And as an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter where the problem came from. It doesn't matter where COVID originated. It doesn't matter, what's happening. Bottom line is we have to figure out how we get through it, how we adapt our business model. Or simply put, you have to be a problem solver. And some people, again, they're so caught up into blaming, it doesn't make any difference where it came from. Bottom line is we have to solve that. And number four is that in today's world, we have to be good with people. We have to be good, especially leading people. If we're going to do an executive model, semi-absentee, we're going to have employees because we're doing other things. We have to lean on those people. So we have to be good leaders. And when we talk about employees now, employees need to feel like they're part of something. Certainly, they got to be paid fairly, but they want to be a part of a mission, part of doing something right from a standpoint. So it's more now of getting their buy-in, including it in stuff like that. It's just a different level from a standpoint. So those are some of the things that I think about to help become successful.
Okay, super. Now, we've had questions leading up to today's session and a couple fly in today that are more individualized, highly personal questions like, Pete, here's my situation, and I'm wondering if I can pull this off. Can I do this and still maintain my corporate income and be successful and see a profit within some period of time? Those are all great questions, and because they are highly individualized, I'm going to encourage everyone who's got those and has thought of them during the session to make time to speak with Pete directly. That's what he's here for, folks. He works with ExecuNet to just help you make the best informed decision possible. And what's right for you might not be right for anyone else. And so talk to him. I encourage you strongly, make the call, because you know what? It's the rest of your life we're talking about. You're looking for something different, something to help you make more time with your family or plan for the next phase of your career, whatever it might be, or a more immediate near-term need, now's the time to ask those questions of someone who really understands what it takes to pull this together and pull it off in a successful way. So with that, I'm going to start to wrap up the session. Pete, thank you for making time and sharing your insight. Thank you all for tuning in today and for raising questions. And Pete, any final thoughts before we officially wrap up?
No, I just encourage people, if you're in a position, you want to learn about this idea of creating income and career security, get ahead of this a little bit because it's important. And
Mhm.
franchising may or may not be for you, but if you are looking to take control of your destiny, to build wealth, to live life in your own terms, then you at least owe it to yourself to explore franchising as a potential path.
Terrific. Thank you again, Pete. Thank you all. I look forward to seeing you at the next session of ExecuNet Masterclass. Bye for now.